Hello everyone, I am Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English channel. In our today's video, we are going to talk about a very important disease known as polio. But why are we discussing polio? Let's find out. Now, Government of India, it has proposed to wind down or close in phases what is known as National Polio Surveillance Network. Now, this network was set up with the help of World Health Organization, and this is basically a countrywide network of over 200 units. What this unit does is basically it conducts surveillance about cases relating to polio. But you need to understand that polio has been eradicated from India for more than 10 years now, and that is why government has decided to wind up this because of obviously expenses. Now government would use these expenses for some other diseases, okay? But this decision, according to some experts, they have said that this move could be quite premature, and they have been said that this is an ill-advised move right now because we need to ascertain the levels of polio in our country. Why? Although polio is not present in India, but there are many countries in our immediate neighborhood where polio till today is prevalent, and that is why India also needs to keep its guard up, and therefore these national polio surveillance network becomes very important. So in our today's discussion, we'll first understand what is this disease polio and how has government eradicated this from India, right? Now polio, it is a viral infectious disease, and this virus, it multiplies in a human's intestine, but the effect of this disease is mostly on a person's nervous system. Now first is that how this disease transmits. Now this disease transfers from one person to another mainly through fecal oral route, right? And the children or the people who are affected by this disease, these are mostly children under 5 years of age. So basically this is an image that will tell you that these are children who have been affected by polio, and that is why they are unable to move like a normal person, and therefore they require some kind of a support. Now the symptoms of polio, it usually leads to permanent loss of muscle function. So therefore any person who has polio won't be able to walk like a normal human being, right? Now the more drastic aspect about polio is that even today there is no cure for polio. So the best way to protect yourself from polio is vaccination, which is a form of immunization. So to prevent polio, basically there are different kind of vaccines available. What are those vaccines? I will let you know in our today's discussion only. Now basically you understand any virus, it has many strains, right? And there are three immunologically different and individual strain that can lead to polio virus. These are wild polio virus type 1, type 2 and type 3. Now in prevalence, polio prevalence today of polio type 2 and polio type 3, they have been eradicated worldwide. But polio type 1, it exists currently in two countries, that is Afghanistan as well as our neighbor Pakistan. So therefore polio is present only in these two countries currently, and the type of polio that is prevalent is wild polio virus type 1, whereas type 2 and type 3, they have been eradicated, right? Now in terms of symptoms, all these three strains of polio virus, they have the same types of symptoms, but when it comes to their genetic and virological structure, these are very different, and therefore you need to eradicate these three types of viruses individually. One type of a vaccine won't be effective in dealing with these kind of strains, right? So this is what you needed to know about the different types of virus that exist today. The most important part is wild polio type 1 virus is the only kind of polio that is prevalent today, and this is prevalent only in two countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. That is why the context told you when polio virus is prevalent in your neighborhood, that is why India can't keep its guard down, right? Now let us understand the different types of vaccines that are available to deal with polio. Now first kind of vaccines, which is probably the most popular vaccine of polio, are the oral polio virus vaccine. You might have heard about the Amitabh Bachchan ad known as Do Boon Zindagi Ki. This was basically an advertisement for an oral polio virus vaccine that you can say is administered like this in form of droplets. Now these are administered in form of droplets, and the kind of technology that is used to manufacture these kind of vaccines, it contains live but weakened forms of polio virus strain that are also called as attenuated strains, right? The benefits of using these kind of vaccines, obviously you can understand these are very easy to administer. So in terms of training of manpower who will be giving these vaccines is quite easy, and that is why government is using these vaccines on a large scale to prevent polio in India. another aspect or another benefit about these vaccines is that it is very low cost to manufacture and deliver these vaccines, and also it incurs lower cost for the healthcare departments to train their workers to give these kind of vaccines. Now, because of its ease to administer and low cost, that is why it has been chosen in mass immunization campaign, and that is why you may have heard so much about that these vaccines were administered, and that is why government started a campaign known as Do Boond Zindagi Ke, right? Now, the best part about this vaccine is that it induces a very strong intestinal immunity, because you understand these viruses, they multiply in our intestines, right? That is why these are very strong in giving your intestines the immunity to counter these viruses, and therefore it is able to stop the transmission of polio virus from one individual to another. But there is a drawback associated with these kind of vaccines. First of all, you need to understand that this vaccine contains live, although weakened, but a live poliovirus strain. So there is a probability, although it is quite drastic or quite remote probability, but it still exists theoretically, that there might be a rare risk of vaccine-derived poliovirus. That is, the virus which is contained in a vaccine might mutate and may lead to transmission of poliovirus. So these are the challenges associated with oral poliovirus vaccines, although they are quite good as it comes to ease of administering these vaccines and low cost associated with it, but there is a rare risk of vaccine derived transmission of poliovirus, right? So to counter that, government came up with another kind of vaccines, that are inactivated poliovirus vaccine. Now these vaccines, as compared to the oral poliovirus vaccines, these are administered in form of injection, like the ones we have taken for coronavirus, right? Now these inactivated poliovirus vaccine, these are made from killed poliovirus strain. That is why in terms of transmission or vaccine derived poliovirus, this does not happen in case of inactivated poliovirus vaccine. And better part about this vaccine, it is also safe for people who are immunocompromised, that is, who have some kind of a medical condition. They are also safe from using these kind of vaccines. Now another aspect of these vaccines is that they provide very strong individual immunity, but when it comes to transmission, they are not so effective as compared to oral poliovirus vaccine when it comes to stopping the transmission. So that is why these are the challenges associated with it. But why is government going with inactivated poliovirus vaccine? Because the probability of vaccine-derived poliovirus from happening in this kind of disease is nil, because it is made from a killed poliovirus strain, right? Now let us understand about India's effort to eradicate polio, right? Now India eradicated polio, but it also wanted to conduct frequent surveillance regarding to it. That is why it set up a national poliovirus surveillance project with collaboration with World Health Organization. That was started back in 1997, and the objective with which it was started was to implement a sensitive surveillance system for polio virus. Now to survey polio virus, many healthcare professionals, they also take samples from sewage systems, because you understand the transmission of this virus is from fecal oral routine or fecal oral route. So understanding or even testing the sewage waste, you can actually understand the prevalence of polio. So if polio exists in a society, you can get it or you can find it by surveilling the sewage systems, right? So it played a very pivotal role in India's journey towards polio eradication. Now the reason why government is winding down is because India reported its last case of vaccine derived or any kind of polio virus. It was back in 2011, and this marked a significant turn for India, because India for the first time saw elimination of this kind of virus. Now India got a polio free certification after 3 consecutive years, because India after 2011 did not come up with a polio virus case, and because this case did not come for 3 continuous years, that is why WHO, World Health Organization, it declared India polio free on 2014. So since 2014, India has been a polio free, rather it eliminated this disease back in 2011. Now not just India eliminated it, entire region of Southeast Asia, it has helped or it has witnessed elimination and eradication of this disease, but still there are many collaborative public healthcare efforts that are going on. Now what you need to understand, that globally the polio cases have also dropped drastically, as much as over 99% since the launch of Global Polio Eradication Initiative in 1998. Earlier when this was launched, there were 3.5 lakh cases annually. Now there are under 1,000 cases annually. And India's strategy to eradicate polio virus has been to both use oleoporovirus vaccine as well as inactivated poliovirus vaccine. But OPV was preferred, obviously, because of its mass use, its ease to administer, and the low cost associated with it. But why IP was used? I told you, the risk of vaccine-derived poliovirus exists for OPV, not for IPV. That is why IPV was also used simultaneously so as to prevent the risk of the wild poliovirus from the vaccines, right? Now, before concluding my today's session, I'd want each and every one of you to solve this particular practice question. You can let me know the correct answers in the comment section, and if you want to download the notes, they will be available on my Telegram channel. This is called as ATS Live. So you can go search the words ATS Live in the Telegram app. You will find the channel. Alternatively, you can also scan this QR code. Subscribe to it if you still haven't, and download the notes. Also, please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more such informative videos on anything that is in news, and we'll see each other again tomorrow. Please have a very pleasant good night.